Natida Thompson. I am the patient, the recipient of the kidney transplant. For the last 3 years, had chronic kidney disease, and basically, it was quite a journey. Yeah. That.
All right, and I'm Carson Thompson, who is father of the recipient and husband of the donor.
Hi, my name is Natida Thompson, Jesse's mom, also the donor.
When I was in grade 7, first year of high school, it was actually the summer after grade 7. I was just 2 weeks before my 13th birthday. Went to do a general blood test with my mom because I had asthma. I was diagnosed with mild to moderate asthma. We went to Darliston to do a blood test. We got a recommendation to actually redo the blood test at Cornwall. When we went to Cornwall, they kind of mixed up the results. They said I was female. So we thought it was actually mommy results with the creatine high, the high bone, the high potassium and all of that. But then we redid the test at Cornwall. They got everything right, but the results were still high bone, high creatine, etc. And then we were actually recommended to the urology team at Cornwall, so we had to go to the conference center, which is their quote-unquote clinic at the time. That's where I met Dr. Cook. So I was going to camp, and then after I was going to camp, I went, we did the blood test, I did the ultrasound, and I just kept everything normal because I wasn't really worrying about it. But when we got the results of the first ultrasound, they said they couldn't see my right kidney on the ultrasound, or my left kidney. And from the left kidney, they saw it was hydronephrosis, so it was oversized for my age. So we went back to normal life, and I think went for a revisit after I turned 13. We went for a revisit, and they recommended I did a CT scan. In the CT scan, they saw that it wasn't that I didn't have the kidney was just atrophied, so it was about pea size at that time. So you could still see it on the CT scan, just not as clearly. So it was obviously not functioning. And then also they saw that my ureter was blocked by something, so Dr. Cook suggested that we put in a stent, and we kept doing revisits, ultrasound, blood test checks over the past few months. So I went back to school. I was still on the team at that time. There was slight changes in like my stamina and stuff, but it wasn't really, I was basically asymptomatic. So everything was alright for me. I was playing U16 instead of U14. And then Dr. Cook said the surgery would be in December. So it was after everything. We did the stent placement in December. Everything was fine. I was living normally. And then we went for the 6-week visit in February. In February, that's where actually I found out the stent fell out of place, and that the surgery did not work. So there was no changes. In fact, it kind of gotten worse, I think. Yeah, the blood results were a little bit high. And then they said they're going to do it again, but it kept getting postponed over and over. But everything was normal. School was normal. I was getting like normal grades and stuff. But in late April, that's where I got sick. Came home one day with basically we thought was a flu, but then it kind of developed a fever, lost of appetite. I had eaten in like 2 days. So we went to a doctor again in Darliston, prescribed some medication. Took it for like 3 days, no changes, nothing. We went to a doctor in Montego Bay, a private doctor, and she prescribed some medication. A very important one, catheter. Yeah, she prescribed that one. Like in the coming days, I started to feel better, but then I had a revisit at urology, and my father told them about the sickness and everything. I was like, bro, why did you do that? I don't want to go to A&E and all of that. I kind of was frustrating because A&E is not pretty. But anyway, we went and saw a doctor. She said, do the blood test and send them to the lab. And we explained the whole journey from the year before. that the stent placement and whatnot. But then we saw the nephrologist on call that day, which was Dr. Ang, and she said she has to talk to her consultant because these results are close to end-stage renal failure, but it's not quite there yet. But then Dr. Yates, which was the consultant, came in and said because of the cataplasm, the kidney gotten relatively worse over a short period of time, so they didn't want to take any chances and wanted me to start dialysis. So I was like, dialysis. So did what I always do. Went on Google at the time, and I researched hemodialysis and peritoneal dialysis. I didn't know which one I was gonna do, but at first we saw the CAPD nurse at renal. She kind of deals with the assessment. She was basically telling me that, yeah, you're definitely going to have to start dialysis. But at the time, we did have the facility to facilitate peritoneal dialysis, which is the at home. It's more frequent and all of that. And that's one through the stomach. And then I kind of came back the next Wednesday to pick up medication. They told me the Thursday was when I was going to do the procedure to put in the catheter. I went home, I did research of live hemodialysis. I saw people doing it through their hands. So I'm saying, oh, so it's not that bad. Cause I thought, but they were using fistula, but I didn't know that. I just thought people just did it through their hands. So that's why they're trying to scare me like that. And then I wasn't feeling tired or anything. At the time, I wasn't playing football because it was not in season. And then I went to Thursday and Dr. Ang again placed in the catheter. It wasn't easy. I have to keep my neck still, and this nurse is smiling with me. I said, "You have a long wire in your hand. You're smiling with me." It was kind of creepy, and they're sticking me in my neck with lidocaine, and tell me everything is gonna be okay. And I'm like, it's not gonna be okay. And I was quite worried, but frustrated and in pain. And then after the lidocaine wear off, after the procedure and everything, I had to do an X-ray, and everything was okay. But I couldn't move my neck to the right at all. So I kind of stuck like this. That same day I did my first dialysis session, I kind of stepped it out. So, and because they don't take off the dressing off the catheter after this, so they just use the ports. So I didn't really feel anyway. Afterwards I went home, everything was good. And then it was on our way home when my mother kind of clapped and celebrated that everything was okay, I was fine. And the ringing in my ears caused pain in my neck. And I was saying, this is frustrating. Any loud noise at all caused ringing in my ears, pain in my neck, and I couldn't move my neck. It kind of got frustrating at first. I couldn't go to school because I couldn't move my neck. So I sit in the same space on the sofa, watching binge watching Psych all throughout like the whole month. I just sat there and I rewatch. And every time I fall asleep, I come back the same episode again. So I was on the same episode for like 3 days. But everything was fine at that time. The nurses were relatively nice, but I was a bit antisocial. So I didn't want to talk to them. I thought
very antisocial.
Yeah, it was like I thought it was me against the world. I kind of like did everybody. I was like, these people are so happy. Look at them. They don't have something sticking out of their neck. I kind of like blame everybody, but Nurse Lewis, Nurse Morris, and Nurse Baker at the time. And Nurse Baker was my nurse. She's the only nurse to ever put me on because I reached it. Yeah, she's the first nurse to ever put me on. Yeah, but every dialysis session I used to get hugged, but I used to like keep my hands at my side. Yeah, I keep my hand at my side. Yeah, the Nurse Simmons too. The Nurse Simmons was really nice. Not what you expect from a nurse. Yeah. And then for the following weeks we kept going. My parents kept asking what are the results, but I didn't really pay attention to that because I was saying that they're gonna put in the stent and everything is gonna be okay. This is all temporary. And in the following months, I placed in the stent, but I still not seeing any changes. The creatine was going down, but they couldn't tell if it was because of the dialysis or me actually peeing but there was no change in my urine output throughout the whole process, so we couldn't really tell. And then we went to the urologist for another visit. Did a second ultrasound. The stent was in place, but they don't know if it was doing its job, because the creatine at the time was dropping. But I'm doing dialysis, and I'm not yet at end stage renal failure, where I have 1,000 plus creatine and 9 plus buns. So everything looked alright. But then the dietary changes were terrible. I remember the first time I had soup, like my mom cooked soup, and they say, can't put pumpkin, you can't put the chicken soup. And I'm like, this is broth. And there was no salt. There's a certain amount of salt. I have to spread it around each meal. And if I went and eat a plantain chips in the day, I know there's no salt in my dinner tonight. And then it was white rice. The chicken could have a browning, chicken could have curry.
Or ketchup.
Ketchup. Although we don't fancy ketchup, some ketchup would be good. And then the caldo, I love caldo. My Sunday morning breakfast was like, bro, this is a disappointment. I used to wonder if my mom could, but everything was fine. I went. Yeah. Well, one of the great things about my family, like, they're tough because the dietary changes were major and they're not used to it, but they kind of had the same thing as me. So yeah, that was nice. And then when I went back to school, I kind of like tried to pick up where I left off, but I was lagging behind. I didn't really like it because I'm not used to being in sixth place. I'm not used to being outside the top 3, especially at that time. New to high school, want to make your mark, stuff like that. And then I went and did the test in grade 8, the end of year test. And like half of them I didn't understand. I kind of just winged it based on pre-knowledge. And then I said in the summer I had a great amount of 3A motivation, quote-unquote 3A motivation. So I said grade 9 I'm going to lock in, get an 85 average and come back stronger next year. I was kind of used to dialysis at that point, and I said I only come here once a week. And it was August where I met Nurse Spencer. She's the first nurse I ever had a conversation with. We didn't start off so strong. When I met her, she used way too much alcohol on me, but the tape kind of stick to my skin, even though the tape still sticks to my skin. But I'm saying, I really do not like this nurse. She used so much alcohol and it's so burning and it was frustrating. But then I talked with her. I don't know how we started the conversation. I talked to her, and then after that, I stopped going to dialysis because I had to. I started going because I want to talk to Nurse Spencer, and I celebrated my 14th birthday at the renal unit. They had a little small party. Yeah, I went the morning. They had balloons, and I like snow mint, so I went home with a pocket full of snow mint. And it was nice. I kind of get a little bit. I kind of take down some barriers, but I only talked to Nurse Spencer. Instead of them just hugging me, I maybe hug them back, but that was it. They didn't really talk to anybody else. I definitely did not talk to the patients.
Right. So in about April of 2023 is when Jesse referred to our trip to the hospital follow-up at the urology clinic, and getting ready for the second stent placement because the first one hadn't worked so well, it fell out of place. And we were hoping that the stent would open up the ureter and his kidney would be emptying and everything else would improve. And that's kind of what we thought the treatment was going to look like. But because of all the issues with Coronal Regional and their operating theater kind of kept being delayed, and on one of those visits, we were told, we're going to come back in about 6 weeks, and hopefully that's when we're going to get the date to have the stent put in. And we wouldn't really come back unless there was something urgent happening. So I wasn't satisfied with that, because by then he started to show symptoms that we were asked about before. So, fatigue, lack of appetite, just general loss of his energy, that kind of thing, having fever repeatedly. So we went to the A&E department, we got assessed. That included a nice overnight stay, just sitting up in a chair waiting to see the doctor, waiting for the blood test to be returned. And that's what led us to seeing Dr. Ang and then Dr. Yates, who recommended that Jesse get assessed for dialysis. It wasn't quite at the threshold like he said, but he recommended it. So 2nd of May 2023 is when he had his first dialysis session. That's how we got there, and then he has talked, about his experience with it. It affected him, the procedure to put a catheter in, and then just being on dialysis, being surrounded by the other dialysis patients. He was the youngest one there by far at the time. And so adults have a whole different perspective, and these people, some of them would have been on dialysis for maybe 5, 8, 10 years or more than that. And so their outlook would have been completely different. Jesse was not always the most social person, so like he said at first, he didn't take to talking with the other patients or talking with the nurses very much. So it wasn't very enjoyable for him. And then the effects of dialysis would be that he might come home feeling very weak. He might be nauseated, or he might be in pain, probably couldn't sleep. So we were doing this on Wednesdays, and the hope was that he would have been able to just miss, part of a day of school for each week, just one day for each week. But sometimes it meant that the next day he wouldn't be well enough to go to school. So he would be missing a day and a half or 2 days. And just generally, it was a negative or frustrating experience for him. And for the rest of us, it meant probably staying up later at night, waking up early in the morning, trying to make him as comfortable as possible around the house, with the neck just sticking to one side all the time. Kind of started walking like that, sitting like that. We're trying to be very careful with him. It affected everything, how he would get to school, because then he couldn't just regularly take a taxi that gets stuffed with 12 people when it's supposed to hold 8. So it definitely changed our lives, a whole lot.
The year 2024, while Jesse was doing dialysis at the Corner Regional Renal Center, during those times, he was being back and forth, getting sick, having fever, loss of appetite, all of those things. Was in the hospital a couple of times, went to urology clinic for a follow-up. While there, he was getting sick, so they sent him off to A&E for the doctors to see him there. When he was there, they found out that he was having an infection. Yeah. He was having infection, so they got him admitted to Block C, that's a surgical ward, to get some tests done. That's when it happened?
No, actually the ear infection came first. So I was at dialysis. I was complaining from my ear because I had started school. So I was complaining from my ears on the dialysis machine. My catheter, the venous side stopped, or is it? No, the arterial side stopped returning. So all of that, so they had to stick me in my arm and return blood through my veins and pull from the catheter. We went to the ENT. we went to the ENT and they gave me medication and that was sorted out. I think after that was when I got the pain in my abdomen, and mommy tried soup and tried everything, but it wasn't working. But I think we went for a visit at the urology department because I had placed in the stent earlier, the second stent, because this was post-burial, yeah, post-burial. And then I went to A&E and they did a bunch of tests. They said no eating, stop hydrating me. So I was getting IV fluids. And then at about 2 in the morning, they said they're gonna dialyze me. So I said, I haven't eaten, can't dialyze, I feel very weak. And they put in a UCAT. And everything was kind of frustrating because I was in pain, the UCAT wasn't working, I was peeing, I was used to not peeing, and all of that. And they brought me to the renal unit. They called the nurses, which was Nurse Lewis and Nurse Sims at the time. And because the catheter wasn't returning, they had to stick me in my arm. I got like 21 tries that night, and I think the 21st time was when they got the needle to actually get in a vein. And even then, I only got an hour and a half of dialysis. But then I was supposed to do the surgery right after dialysis. But then they didn't get through. And Nurse Lewis actually called their boss, which was Dr. H, the consultant, made a whole fuss about it. Why is he not in surgery yet? He's in pain and this. And she went on a whole rampage. Yeah, she's very defensive of me. Yeah, she went on, and then the surgery got done. And they went in and they said the appendix, at first they said the appendix was ruptured, but when they went in, they saw a bunch of infectious fluid, but they were close to the appendix, which was causing complications. They said the appendix is not important at all, so let's just take that out too, and they did a bunch of suctioning of fluids also. But then I was on the ward for a while after that because they were treating me for infection, because they found out the catheter was also infected because of that's what started the whole thing. That's what they had said, because the ear infection and then infectious fluid inside my tummy. So they said the catheter was the major infection. That's why it wasn't working. So I went to dialyze one night, and Dr. Ikimiki, that's the other renal nephrologist, she changed the catheter. She changed the catheter. So it was kind of frustrating because I'm saying I'm getting a second catheter for no reason. Again, I don't like the hospital in general, but I really don't like the wards because, you know, everybody's saying this guy doesn't have a leg, that guy over there just did brain surgery, and you're kind of seeing all of that because if they don't close the curtains, or, you know, they share curtains beside the bed, so your side is open, well, my side is not, and it was frustrating. But when you looked at me at that, even if you had a medical degree, your medical decision would be that I looked like I'm gonna die because I was so skinny. I looked like a malnourished child. I was eating, I was drinking, anything at all. I had all the signs of infection. My potassium level, my bone levels, and creatine, they're all going up. Blood pressure. Like significantly low, like dead people type low. And then they started me on antibiotic treatment, and everything was okay. After about 2.5 weeks in the hospital post-surgery, that's when they kind of said, okay, it's okay to go home now, and we come back for a follow-up in 7 days. I think it was, yeah, at the surgery clinic. And I went home, everything was fine. I couldn't walk as strong as I did. I could walk, but I found it really fatiguing to walk. So I would walk, but maybe it was just laziness. And I was on like 25 different medication, high dose of prednisone, high dose of citrate, and everything was kind of doubled, tripled, and the prednisone was tenfold. Then we went back to the surgery clinic for a follow-up. So the doctor looked at this doctor was feeling me and said, you feel really warm. And I said, oh, I was in front of the fan. Because I didn't want them to say check if I have a fever. Because if they find I have a fever, it's back to Annie, and I was trying to avoid that. But then she saw fluid leaking from the surgery cut. Yeah. So she called the ambulance and got me to A&E. We got through relatively quick, but then we still had to wait for the renal consultant to get on call so they could figure out what was wrong with me, because after all, I was really a renal patient. And they determined that if it's an infection, they can't allow the foreign body, which is the catheter, to stay in the body. So even though the catheter was working, they still had to take it out. So they took it out right there, and everything was good, but I was worried that I'm gonna put in another catheter. I just put in one a week ago, and it was very frustrating. And then I was on the ward, I was vomiting, had diarrhea. Again, I was eating, and everything kind of went south real fast. And you kind of got frustrated. But like, I think my mom will better explain it, how I kind of like behave on the work, because I don't really think I was the best person at that time, because I really didn't want to stay on the ward. Mommy?
Yeah, it was really a frustrating time. If it wasn't for God, we don't know how we'd make it through, because I had 2 other children at home. The eldest one was Jada, and Jenny was the smallest one. So you know that she needed the attention more than anything, but Jesse was now grabbing all the attention and all my time. So I have to be spending time with him during that time in the hospital. So I was there for days without bathing anything. So he would not eat or sleep or anything. So he was there continuously doing tests and all of those things until for at least a month. A month.
Yeah, whole October.
The whole entire October was in there until they found out that he was able to go home. But it wasn't easy, because like, if I wanted to leave Jesse to go home, he would call. He was very feisty at that time. Very feisty.
Yeah.
He would say things that would hurt you, literally hurt you. He literally hurt you. So I was going through all of that with a smile, but he did not know I was going through all of those pain, because you have to be splitting yourself between a husband and 3 children, but most of it was going to him, running a household. And would not eat. You'd ask him, what do he want to eat, the best thing, and he tell you, and you bring it to him. It doesn't make any sense. He would not eat it. He did not want anything at all. Just literally faced, and he wants to go home. If I tell him about anything to help him, to motivate, he tell us, you can't keep that to yourself, or you can't say that because I know you're in a situation, even if you are there with him. That was one of the. Anyway, he ended up coming out about 4 days before the month end. He came home and was at home. Sisters, everybody rally around. Grandma, he has my mom, he has a good grandmas, uncles, everybody that would be there for him in every way. Even the cleaning lady, Miss Brown at the hospital, would make sure he gets each and everything that he needs to get him comfortable as much as possible. Because it wasn't an easy journey for him. It's like he shut down, he locked out everybody. He was just in a world by himself. You could not tell him anything at all for him to believe. It's like almost he gave up. And then he was at home for a while, could not go to school, didn't want to talk to anybody. When he get the catheter, he goes to dialysis. They said that he got the opportunity to know to do twice per day, twice per week.
Yeah.
In January.
No, it was still in October.
In October,
yeah,
they
Monday,
said they
Thursday.
go give him, because he wasn't getting enough time, because it was an hour and a half every Wednesday. Was getting till they move it up to 2.5 till he goes to 3 per day, when his body could have managed it. We went and started to do twice per week.
Yeah.
Could not go to school. Then in January he got it.
No, actually, in November, when I went back to the hospital for the last time, they said that instead of doing the Monday, Thursday shift, they're moving me to Tuesday shift, and I was starting more time on the machine, so it was 3.5 hours now. And then when I got out of the hospital, I was feeling better, having femoral catheter at the time. So I was really frustrated because I could barely walk.
Third catheter?
Yeah, that was number 3.
That is number 3.
And in January, when I was supposed to go back to school and everything, trying to settle down, I went back to school and I picked up, I did all of the tests. I had no idea but I needed the grades.
Because you missed out the whole term the year
I needed
before.
the grades because I said, if I didn't know that they put absent, like because I was absent for the whole term, I didn't know that they did that. So I went to my IT teacher and he gave me a makeup test, but the test was actually a previous grade test. So I knew everything on it. And I think I got 90, yeah. And then the rest of the teachers just put absent because I kind of get frustrating because I have to be searching for the teachers after classes. And when I went to do the test, I was lost, so I got absent. Average, the only grade you have with the rest of the absents, which are basically hundreds. So I kind of came third that year by default. Term by default.
Because he was good in grade 7 anyway. You came at first.
Yeah.
So his grade showed that he was very good at that. So while in January going to school doing dialysis, there were days you go like 2 days per week for school, could not go the rest because dialysis put a toll on his body. He was very weak sometimes. Then some of it was being lazy. Some of it was being antisocial, don't want to be at school, don't want to be around anybody, all of that. And when he goes, he don't want to eat. He used to hide his food in his bag. And you would not know that because he didn't want to eat when you give to him because you have to take lunch to school. In February, what happened? We went for checkups. And after checkup, the catheter.
The catheter wasn't working.
Working again.
I think that was the point. They recommended me to get a fistula and also to talk to the transplant nurse Francis. Well, we didn't go to the transplant nurse directly. She actually came to us while I was getting a catheter put in.
Because they found out that the stage that the kidney was at, it was transplant was the only option for him at the time.
Yeah, because I had small
because he had small veins. The catheter wasn't staying very long. They work most of the time when he goes to dialysis, they weren't working. One was returning, one wasn't pushing, pulling, whatever it was.
And
nurses were trying to, guide wire hit. Doctors have to be coming back and forth so many times with him. So they recommended that he get a fistula or he consider transplant. So there we went. Daddy was first to consider to do the workup for it, but found out that he has diabetes, he can't give a kidney. So I was the one that stepped in and everything. Before they ask anything, we tell them that both of us were the same blood type. So I knew I was more of a match for him to do this surgery. But you still have to go through the whole blood works, all the tests, heart tests, constant blood tests back and forth, MRI, all of those things. And those things cost a lot of money. Knowing that I had to start work, I was working as a housekeeper back and forth. It wasn't a lot going on in that. So we were basically live at the hospital every day. Till persons thought I was a nurse there and my husband was a doctor, because they saw us so many times there almost every day. So everybody knows my name, face, whatever. So the transplant nurse came. At first when she came, we never wanted. I didn't want to see her. I didn't want to talk with her because I just wanted an option where my son just heal, wherein I don't have to go see him through that, because he was in so many pains so often. It was hard to go to that road. But anyway, I braved up and went and we did all the tests. It's like he's at school and he have to be leaving school. So he hardly goes to school. We had her at home. Jenny, the smallest one, hardly cry. Like no one cares for her because she was mostly with her eldest sister. She has to come from school to take care of her. So we did all the blood works.
Yeah, at first, and they said everything
They
was
said
good there.
Good. I was healthy enough. Jesse was healthy enough to receive the
What
kidney,
is
and I
expected.
am official test show that I am
A match.
a match for the transplant.
And that's where we started the ultrasounds and the CT scan, which was
Then we heard about the TLC. Yeah.
yeah, because
That's where-
originally Cornwall, what Cornwall does, cooperate with a team, external team to do the transplant. But then they kept cancelling because the first option was transplant in February, then transplant in
Because
April.
they did have a time wherein they did have 2 recipients to do the surgery. So they wanted us to hurry and do our workup so we will be able to be with that set of 2. So we'll be the 3rd team going in to do surgery at that time, knowing that the TLC from England would come in and do the test. So they wanted, through the volunteerism of Chase and everybody, so we would get to be on that team for the surgery. So they were doing everything in their power to get it done. Then it get postponed, and that was set and changed for June of 2025. They're still have to be doing tests because they have to be having newly tests, repeating the tests to have fresh new tests, and to make sure that everything we're still in healthy condition for the surgery. And found out that the cost and the aftercare and medication, all of that was mountain. So we asked for help. We asked the NHF, we asked Chase, where we wrote to them, asking them for help. We did not know that the TLC was being covered by them till further down, right? That's when further down we know that they were the one that was sending the team here. Going on with that, Jesse have to be changing catheter very often again. He reached to the point where he was at the 5th one.
No, I was.
The 5th one before the pending June surgery.
I was at the.
And we were hoping that the surgery date would be come up in time that he didn't have to put in a new catheter. In summer.
No, it was in June still.
Yeah.
We got called to the hospital when we were downtown. They came and said, oh, maybe they're going to tell us that, yeah, it's confirmed for this date, because we just knew it was in June. We didn't know the date. And then they told us that it's cancelled, and this time they can't tell us when, but they're going to keep doing the test and everything.
But they're keeping and all of that.
At that time, I think we bought the graph. Yeah.
Yes, we did.
We bought the graph and we were supposed to get the fistula.
Yes.
But
each time that was being cancelled, every time the doctor keep on cancelling, and we couldn't get a date for him to put in the fistula because his veins are
small,
super small, super small. Even to do the regular blood test, it's a big struggle for the nurses, for him. One time, it's like when I went to the hospital while he was admitted, I left him just the one night, and when we came back, it's like a whole lot of holes on his hand and bruising. And I said, what happened during the night? Since I left you at 10 o'clock, what happened? He said that they came to draw blood and could not. I started counting his right hand, I reached 30 holes and I have to stop. Could not count them, and that was just one hand. So we said, no, we could not manage this anymore. We were trying to find out what was going on, but the doctors and the transplant nurses and the nephrologist nurses at Cornwall, they did not put down anything. They were working behind the scenes, trying real hard to see if they could get the transplant. We heard about the TLC coming to UWI Hospital through TASE again to do surgery.
Yeah, it was 2. And then, I don't know how, I think Mommy probably know, but
they had us, the TLC knew of our case before. They knew of our case because they were the one that was going to come to Cornwall to do it through volunteerism just as before, but that one get cancelled. We don't know what, just God work. And then we were added. So because they know of the case of Jesse's case, heard of how he has been changing catheters, because in the August of 2024, we will have to rush to University Hospital of the West Indies for an emergency surgery to put in this catheter that he has in. This was a 10th one. So he changed like 3 catheters
In a span of 3 months, it was 3 catheters.
3 catheters in. So this last one that he has now, it was at about the 10th one. So we have to be at UA, emergency by ambulance. He has to be done by surgery because it was stenosis.
Yeah, there was so much stenosis around the area that they said the ultrasound literally cannot see the opening. So they said they're going to do it in, I think it was interventional radiology. So they're going to put me under everything. That was the part I was worried about, because I said I did 9 catheters with just lidocaine, and that was painful. I'm not doing a 10th one with. So I was kind of frustrated with them. But then I learned that UE put the minors under and say, oh, thank God I'm a minor.
Yes, yeah. They really cares a lot about that kind of situation. One you did
August 29.
In August of 29?
August 29, 2025.
Yes. 29 years, yes. We were there. So while we were there, he did the surgery for the catheter. They did the workup because the TLC spoke with the nephrologist team at UE and the transplant coordinator and all the doctors there, because knowing they were coming there, they said they're adding him to him because he's a minor, and they heard about his case and his situation and what he has been in and out of hospital. Can't go to school as he wants to, and the catheter changing, and basically no more access, because they have to use these areas more than once. So they even tried to give him like the subclavian catheter.
Yeah. So what happened now with this catheter he has in, it would essentially be the last one, because they've put catheters everywhere they can put them. And normally when you put a catheter in one place, especially with his veins, they collapse. You probably can't use that area again. So if this catheter had failed, then we kind of were at a loss as to how he would continue dialysis. So that was a big part of the reason to add him to the list for surgery urgently as well. Jesse has all of these issues with changing multiple catheters, losing access, and definitely needs kidney transplant surgery. So we're waiting for that to happen, and we are told that it's going to happen in October.
Yeah, 29th of October.
So October 29, definitely within that week, and there are 3 surgeries planned. So we're going to be on one day during that week. And of course, everybody knows what happened in October 2025. Miss Melissa came to visit, and she planned it for a while. So while she was planning it and sitting offshore, she was delaying everything that we were trying to plan. So getting ready for surgery meant multiple trips from Westmoreland to UE. Every kind of blood test, renal scan, CT scan, heart test, whatever it is that we had to do, meetings with the transplant team, all of that had to be done at UE. So we kept making these early morning trips from Westmoreland. So, 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, driving to UE to get there for 7 or 8. And so in the week and a half leading up to Melissa, should have been week and a half leading up to the surgery. But we were told, all right, you have to be on standby. We have to see what's going on with the storm, because the TLC team need to come in. And the plan was they would be in Jamaica on the Monday, and surgery would take place maybe about Wednesday. So we would have met with them on Tuesday, and surgery would be Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. So we were on hold. We did some meetings and sensitization sessions by Zoom instead of going in, but still holding out the hope that maybe by the time the hurricane hits, Jesse and Natida would be already at UWI on the ward. So surgery might not be impacted, especially because it started to look more and more like Melissa would hit the western end of the island instead of having a lot of impact on Kingston. But the last communication we had, I think maybe the Friday before, to say don't come in for the meeting on the Friday. Then the Saturday we had communication saying don't try to come in on the Sunday or the Monday whenever we would have come to Kingston, because we expect the storm to have hit. So, a lot of fear, frustration, nerves happening during that time. Funny enough, the bags that should have been packed were not packed for the trip to Kingston until the morning of the storm, right? So we're kind of thinking, yeah, we won't be able to go because the storm is coming. But then at the same time, yeah, we hope that we really get it done. We hope the team makes it to Jamaica and, we're able to go to the hospital. And we're looking at it to say, we could have gone on Saturday, we could have gone on Sunday, we could have gone on Monday, because the storm is sitting not doing anything. While all that is happening, the morning of the storm, we got up and packed all the suitcases and everything ready to go. By this time, it looks like it's going to be after the storm. But, hurricanes normally come in the night, and maybe by the following morning, everything is clear. So in a day or two, maybe just a little bit of a delay, and we would still get to go. Had no idea that Melissa was going to be category 5 and was going to make landfall and drive straight through our hometown of Betheltown. So Eastern Westmoreland, we eventually got the full brunt of Melissa, which means that the roads were impassable, places had flooding. We lost electricity about 1 o'clock, 12:30 on the day of the hurricane, and we lived in a house that was mostly board, and 1 bedroom and bathroom concrete. And Melissa decided that she wants the entire board structure. So we were actually in the house. By the time the wind started to pick up and the rain, we moved into the concrete bedroom, and we're thinking we probably will sustain some damage, but we can ride out the storm right there. It turns out that, took Melissa about 7 minutes to take the roof off the house and then to take away the whole board structure. Literally just blew each side down, sucked all the furniture and the clothing and everything out of the house, and left us in the concrete bedroom, which was open into a large passageway, so no door. So the wind is blowing in, the rain is blowing in. The pressure was so low that we were having pain in our ears. The house started to flood because all the rain is blowing in. And so mid-storm, we actually had to leave the house and go next door to stay at Natida's mother, who thankfully lives close to us and had already started to build her house. So her house is concrete, but it's half finished, except for 1 large room. So that part was destroyed, the roof went, but the concrete part was there. It was still being flooded too, but at least, it's concrete wall, so we could go in there and stay. So definitely no surgery, and then no communication, no electricity. So that means no contact from UWI. The TLC team didn't get to make it into the island the day before because the airports were already closed. So no surgery was happening. So we had to definitely just switch focus to survival mode. So we survived the storm. None of us were hurt. Our eldest daughter was in Kingston because she's at the Jamaica University College studying her first semester. So the 4 of us were at home, and we were very busy bailing out water, trying to lift up board and zinc and try to see to save a mattress. Except for Jesse, of course. Jesse couldn't do. Yeah, we're trying to keep him safe during this time because the warning was, we don't want any infections. We don't want him to have a cold. in order to be prepared for surgery. So we're kind of trying to see if we could wrap him in cotton wool. So, you know, stay over grandma and enjoy the view of the destruction, but don't come near anything that we're trying to do. Meanwhile, Natida and I were trying to see, we wanted to hear what was going on about the surgery. We're trying to see if we could clean up the house and figure out where we're going to live. And that, of course, took us weeks to do. She's supposed to be preparing for surgery because she's the donor. So we're kind of trying to keep her a little bit safe too, but, you know, we had to do what we had to do. So we were contacted by Dr. Shoiba from UWI in maybe the end of November.
Yeah,
it was
I
the end.
think
Yeah,
it
was the end
was
of November.
close to after we got back signal.
Yeah, so we didn't have any electricity, but we had people using Starlink. So somewhere between the end of November and early December. Yeah. So, you know, people using Starlink to connect to Wi-Fi. We got a call, and he called and spoke to Natida, and he said, you know, I wanted to check your state of mind. I know what has happened to Westmoreland with the storm, and we're still thinking about doing the surgery. You know, we're not sure exactly when yet, but we're thinking it's probably going to be somewhere in January, and we want to see what your state of mind is. The consequence of being near the airport. Right? Yeah. So once he spoke to her, he said, you know, she answered the phone all bright and bubbly. He said, oh, I don't have to ask about your state of mind. Apparently, you know, you're okay. Because we were feeling just thankful that we survived, and we were trying to clean up. So that was where all of our effort was going every day, and still wanted to do the surgery because, you know, now we're on this borrowed time, thinking that Jesse still has catheter number 10 in, which is probably going to be catheter number last. So we need to hurry up and figure out when the surgery is going to happen. So for a month, I drove from Bethel Town to Montego Bay for Jesse to have dialysis done. And this was with a smashed windscreen. My car got significantly damaged by the storm, and the roads were quote unquote reopened. Storm hit the Tuesday, so the roads were reopened Thursday evening. My sister came from Montego Bay, so she said, well, I was able to drive up. So Friday morning, we drove to Cornwall. That trip ended up being Friday morning into Saturday morning before we could get back home, Saturday afternoon. And the roads that were open meant you were driving in a live river, under light posts, through some people's yard, you know, all kind of adventures like that. So doing all this with a broken windscreen and trying to get Jesse to dialysis, because the dialysis team had the ones who could, because some of the nurses were stranded because of flooding, they couldn't come out. But the members of the team who could were at the hospital, and they were trying to help the patients get dialyzed. You know, they tried to reach out to us, and it was a case of, if you're walking and you got a phone call, you would stop right where you are, because if I got a phone call here, it means that if I walk to the camera, I wouldn't be getting any signal. So I would stop right there, take the phone call, and, you know, or get a voice note. And somebody's saying, can you come to the hospital tomorrow? Can you make it for 9 o'clock? So we did that for that month and a half, and thank God Jesse survived. You know, nothing happened to him. The catheter worked every time, and by this time he was doing 3 days per week for dialysis. Hospital had to be sometime trucking water, patients' relatives bringing water to the hospital. They're running on generator, half the roof gone off the renal unit, all these things happening. But we made it through that, and then we were told that the surgery was planned for early January. So late December, this must be like right after Christmas? Or right, just before Christmas. Yeah, just before Christmas. We were told that surgery is going to be early January, first week of January. And that meant we also had to redo some tests, and we had to prepare ourselves to get to UWI for early January. So I ended up taking them to Cornwall Regional on the 4th of January. 3rd of January. 3rd of January, actually. Right. So the 3rd of January, they both went to Cornwall Regional, got admitted, and then the day after, the Sunday, transported by ambulance to UWI to start prepping for the surgery. And by the grace of God, we made it. January 8th, surgery was done. A very, very long day for me, but starting about
7, yeah.
7 a.m. Yeah, about that, with all the all the prepping.
Yeah, so 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock
Then she
after
prepped to
surgery.
went to surgery. Dr. Miriam came and told me she was in surgery, I think about 8:30.
And Jesse went to surgery. Yeah, so Jesse went to surgery when Natida is halfway through. So about 11:30, 12 o'clock. Yeah, and then I sat down for the long wait. But the TLC team was really great. We ended up meeting them on the Tuesday, I think it was. And they walked us through what the procedure was going to look like. You know, they worked with local doctors from UA as well. The transplant nurse from Cornwall came up for the surgery, and everything was pulled together, and the surgery went off on the 8th. Life-changing surgery for both of them. Natida has 1 kidney, and Jesse would have had about 3. Yeah, but it went off. You know, of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing. It's successful now, so we're sitting talking to Jesse. Jesse can run up the stairs and back down, and you know, prepare some food and do all of that. But it meant 2 weeks, or a little bit less than 2 weeks in ICU.
Yeah, it was 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, 2.5 weeks in ICU because
Yeah, and
then initial surgery on the 8th of January, and then he had to do follow-up emergency surgery 2-3 days later. 5 days later. Yeah. Because he had
Hematoma.
internal bleeding, hematoma, like bruising inside.
Yeah. And then plus on top of all of that, the new kidney was still sleeping, so I had to still get dialysis. So everything didn't pick up instant. I was in a lot of pain after the surgery. Like a lot of pain, the spasms, the just general numbness in my leg, not being able to move. And then what really got me at one point was the Monday before I did the emergency surgery, to walk. And then it was the first time after the surgery I'd eaten the Monday. So 4 days later, I got something to eat finally. And then they came and they said, your blood count suddenly dropped. We don't know why. Gonna take it to do a CT scan. And then I said, okay. Because I was like, oh well, what am I gonna do about it? And then we did the CT scan. They said, oh, you're gonna do a surgery. There's a risk. You know, the general risk of the surgery, just doctors frightening you. I was like, oh well, I just did that last week. Let's go again. Then I went in, came out, the surgery was a success. After that, the kidney actually picked up. It didn't like come, and I was putting out tube
not immediately
but
at all.
at least you know that, it's actually doing something. It's doing something, and the dialysis session kind of gets a little bit spread out after that. And we were in there. At one point, they had to start giving me potassium because of how low my potassium was. And I was like, oh my God, if I'm getting potassium, that means the kidney is so great. and I was in ICU because they didn't want to move me to a ward because they said germs, they need an isolated room. So I was cold, and then I'm hot. And then, after the surgery, the tube, it could cause complications. So you cough up. But because you're having the spasm, it hurts tenfold. So it was really a pain struggle. But, learning to walk twice, and then I was so dreaded to see my physiotherapist sometimes because I don't want to get up out of the bed. I was really lazy. And then I kind of went to the ward and things started to get better. They took out the UCAT and I was peeing on my own, and I started peeing a lot more. It wasn't big, but it was a lot more.
Progress.
It was progress. And then, Dr. Campbell, she was the nephrologist resident. she's nice. She's really nice. And Dr. Thomas Chen and the team from abroad, personnel from the team from abroad, the transplant nurse, they visit me every now and then. Yeah, but it was really nice. The nurse was nice. I had different nurse every night, and everything kind of made progress. And then they saw real progress in the kidney. When they said the urine output is so good, my doctors were even more excited than I was. And then I think it was the Wednesday, they came and tell me in the day, "Oh, this year going home." Like 5 different doctors come and tell me. Yeah, and I'm like, it was 21 days in the hospital.
So January 29, 28.
28, yeah.
Yeah, January 28th, he was discharged from the hospital and still had to do follow-up tests at least twice a week. And up to this point, he still has to go to the hospital. Now he was transferred from UWI after the 6th of February so that we could be in Montego Bay, a little bit closer to original home, and being able to be transferred to Cornwall for follow-ups instead of staying at UWI. Right. So we're in Montego Bay right now, but we live in Betheltown, Westmoreland. We did surgery at UWI in Kingston, in St. Andrew. So how come we're here? Why are we here? Surgery had to be done at UWI, and then follow-ups also had to be done at UWI. So Jesse got discharged from the hospital January 28th and went for follow-ups at UWI, at the transplant office or at the clinic, until about the 6th of February. After that, and the team worked assiduously to try to get us away from UWI since we don't live in Kingston. So while Jesse was in the hospital for the longest period of time, Natida was there for a couple of days. I had to have somewhere to stay, and then so did she afterward. So we ended up staying in Portmore at my aunt's house. That was the closest place that we could find in terms of convenience, space for us, and so on. So we did that, and then we did the commute from Portmore, Edgewater to UWI. So that was daily to go see Jesse, or to go pick something up or drop something off, medication, whatever it was, just to see him, to check on him. When he was discharged from UWI, we also had to have him stay there. But one of the concerns of the surgical team and the whole renal care team was and is, where would it be safe for Jesse to stay? Because he has a new kidney, but in order for him to get that new kidney and for it to be accepted by his body, his immune system needs not to work very well. So he takes immunosuppressant drugs as part of the regime to manage his kidney. And some of these he's essentially going to stay on for life. So when his immune system is suppressed, it means, he could catch any kind of infection, a common cold, a flu, whatever it is. And the fact that we just had Melissa, and our house got destroyed by Melissa, and up to this point there's still roads that aren't properly cleared, and drains that are still blocked up, and garbage still piled up in some place, and all of that. The medical team assessed, where we would have some place suitable for Jesse to stay, and they sent the health department representatives to our house after they spoke with us about the conditions, and so they saw the damage that would have happened to our house, but also just the general condition of the surrounding area, and they recommended we try to have Jesse somewhere where he would have space, where it would be relatively clean, not with people still burning their garbage, whatever debris is left over from the storm, or just because they don't have electricity back as yet, and running water. All these amenities that Jesse would need, but also, so Jesse needs all these amenities, but also the fact that people don't have them means that they have to make do. So, you have to harvest some rainwater, or you buy some water from somewhere, store them in a tank, store them in a drum. Everywhere is too muddy or too dusty. People have chickens and dogs and goats and all these things that will make him susceptible to infections. So he couldn't be at our home in Bethel Town. Not to mention we don't have enough space because we haven't rebuilt it as yet. But he couldn't be there, and if he stayed for follow-ups at UWI and with us trying to live somewhere in or close to Kingston, then the costs would have been completely unmanageable, right? So the costs involved in this whole process started off with all the testing that need to be done. Even at public facilities like Cornwall, you can't get everything done. So there are some tests that are specialized, or CT scans or renal scans that you have to get done at a private lab. And that comes with money, cash paid up front. Then UWI has a cost for surgery, using the facilities, getting medication. And again, not all the medication is provided by the NHF or the public hospital system. So there's a cost involved in that as well. And then there will be a cost for our accommodation, for food, for transportation. And we still have to maintain our family costs. So I was there with Jessie and Natida, but Janae, our youngest daughter, was still here. She was with her grandmother in Bethel Town or with her cousins for a while. And then my eldest daughter still at the Jamaica. So we still have costs, right? Added to the surgery, the medication, the treatment. So thank God for Chase, because you're looking at Jess's hospital bill to date being just over $2 million, and Natida's bill being about $750,000. And then there are ongoing medication costs and testing that we're still doing now. So twice a week and now once a week, we have to pay for testing at UWI. Now that we're not at UWI anymore, we still have to pay the private lab to do at least one test for him. The other tests are done at Cornwall Regional. And then from time to time, there might be other things that need to get done. So they'll call us in based on the results that they get each week or every 2-3 days to say, we need to increase or reduce a medication. We need to do a CT scan or an X-ray or a urine con with transportation and with just surviving. So we thank God for Chase. We reached out to them initially 2025, maybe about February, March, when we knew that the surgery was being planned, and especially after we found out that it couldn't happen at Cornwall. That's when we started to ask, where can we get help? Where can we get support to do this? Because we have great support, like Natida mentioned earlier, from family, but really there is so much that family can do, whether locally or abroad. Everybody has their own expenses, but we have had financial support from family, from friends, from complete strangers, from nurses, from janitorial staff, from doctors, whether it is waiving the cost for a test or paying for it out of their own pocket or driving to get some medication with their own vehicle and their own time. We've had unprecedented support. Even up to now. So people have contributed. Like we say, sometimes these are people that don't know. So somebody might know my mother-in-law, or my mother, or my aunt, or my sister, or whoever, and they will make a contribution based on just what they hear. So we've had all of that, but obviously we would need significant support to clear these bills for just the surgery and the treatment. And so we applied to the National Health Fund, a compassionate fund of the Ministry of Health, and we applied to Chase. And there the doctors, the transplant coordinators, nurses were just awesome in telling us where we could apply and how we could go about doing it. Yeah.
Foundation.
Yeah, so we've had support from Jamaica Kidney Kids Foundation as well, which until this year, I think I probably didn't even know existed. Um, so really a lot of support. But Chase is the major sponsor so far, and just the past weekend, just last week, I was contacted to say that the award letter is ready, it's being prepared, and we just need to receive the final invoices from UE just to ensure where we stand, and so everything can be transparent, and we need to tell Chase in a documented way exactly how we want the funds to be spent, because of course they're helping us. So usually, it's paying for medication or testing or whatever. So we have asked for significant portion of this to go to the medical bills, and Chase has agreed. And we have had constant contact, constant follow-up, not just about the money or the procedures, but just somebody calling or texting to check up on Jesse, check up on Natida, to ask me how I'm doing, to ask us how we fared during the storm with the house and how are we going to rebuild and where do we live now. We can't describe the level of support that Chase has given us and is still giving us right now.
Life before the transplant was really simple or simpler because when I just came to high school, I came from a public school, so and then there's a lot of competition among my classes. So I was just focusing on doing good academically. So and then football, I started playing football for my primary school the year before. So I decided to just keep that as an extracurricular activity. So I kind of took it serious because I'm a big football fan, and then it kind of just fit into everything. So I didn't really have much problems, and my asthma and it kind of helped with my asthma. Bigger stamina, so it kind of expand your lungs, everything. So everything was kind of working out for me. I was doing good the first term of school. I came first, and I came first the second term. And I say high school is easier than they make it sound, because the teachers aren't going to do this for you in high school, and that. But I was saying it's pretty easy. I was really focused on, and then I started doing the big subjects like physics, chem, and bio. So, and I really loved those stuff. So everything was kind of simpler then. And then, like with life, with going out, I can go home. I know that when I go home, I can play football. When I go home, I can ride bicycle. Do the deer and stuff. Yeah, spend time with my little sister. And my big sister. Catch up there and argue that my sport is better. Like I say, who even cares?
Because she plays volleyball, right?
Yeah, it was really nice. I had friends at school, and everything was just simpler back then. You didn't have to worry about anything.
You were farm captain.
Yeah, I was farm captain. Everything kind of just was going really smooth for me, and I really wanted to I was interested in the sciences, so I was obsessive about the bio books. So everything was great because I had a great bio teacher. I didn't have to worry about going to the hospital and missing a class, stuff like that. I could go to school every day. The only reason I wouldn't go to school was because I was sick, and I was sick to where I'm missing 2 weeks, 4 months of school. It was like one day, and then I go back to school the next day. This day, or if I miss a class, it's because I have a football match, or stuff like that. But for me, kidney disease, like maybe it just had to happen because it really changed my perspective on a lot of things. I think I'm a little less harsh on people. I don't come off as blunt, or maybe I just learned to fake it a bit more. It's a, but I really changed my like I didn't have any interest in like the medtechs. I was purely research based science, but no, it kind of changed my career path because at the hospital I see the machines kind of broke down every time. So one less machine, that means the patient don't get to dialyze. The nurses have to call the technician every minute. I say, if I grow up, I can just make these better. So I kind of got into the whole medtech thing, changed my interest.
You have to say what it is, mechanical technology.
Yeah, mechanical technology. That's what I used to say in medtech. And then, I kind of got even the medical field because half of my doctors are convinced I'm going to be a doctor. Because I learned so much because sometimes when I just started before I didn't know any of these tests. All I know, I'm going to the hospital for a blood test for my asthma checkup. No, I go to the hospital, they're doing a blood test. They say, what is CDC, UNE, or what's this? I look on they give you the blood test paper, you look on it, they don't know what half of the stuff mean because they're using all these fancy terms. Oh, your hemoglobin count. Oh, that's just my blood count. And it was a journey, but although it seems mostly bad, I learned things that kind of even out the bad, so kind of balance the scale.
Oh, I have not received a kidney and I have not donated a kidney, but I am firmly in the kidney transplant business and it has been a journey. It continues to be a journey. I am grateful. It has been challenging. It has felt frustrating at times. I have had a lot of doubts. It's taken physical toll, but my overall feeling right now, even though the journey isn't ended, is gratitude. I am very grateful because we haven't been alone. So I have my family. So it's me, my wife, 2 daughters, 1 son, Jesse, who has received the kidney from his mom. And then we have close family members, physically close by and, close in terms of relations. So everybody from my own mother and father and brothers and sisters who are in the States to my mother-in-law who is here with us as much as possible. She's always close to us. We're staying in Montego Bay in Iron Shore right now in a house that is not mine and isn't one of my relatives. So it means that I am so grateful to the owner of this house who is hosting us essentially without a schedule, Mrs. Enid Scott. So she just said she knows us. I actually took her a couple of times to UE to do some treatment on her eye. And my mother-in-law works with her. And she just said, I live in this house. I have enough space. And if this is what I can do to help, I am ready and willing. And she has been. We've been here for a little over a month already. And we are comfortable. And Jessie is safe. And we have more than we could ever ask her for. Then we have all of the new family that we have acquired at Cornwall Regional Hospital, at UE, the TLC team from the UK who continue to check up on us right now. All of the staff, medical staff, like I said, cleaners, nurses, security officers. Jesse is like the prince of Cornwall Regional and apparently took over UE as well. So when we go there, we really feel like we are not just patients, but we're being cared for by family. And we have people who are our extended family by knowing our family members, even if they don't know us and we don't know them. And all over the country, all over the world, people have responded to our story, even when we kind of tried to keep it private and figure it's our business and we're going to try to do what we can do on our own. As people have heard, they have just responded, just opened their hearts to us. So we are eternally grateful. We would never have gotten this far without God keeping us. So our faith is very important to us, and our church family is very important. And even now people continue to pray for us and to pray with us, and that's something that I appreciate so much. We can't say thanks enough to the Chase Fund and to the NHF, the Ministry of Health. We are grateful for the financial help and just for the overall love, compassion, and support. And to everybody who sees or hears our story, this is an opportunity that we had to share this. Hopefully it's something that you can learn and it can touch you, and you can have hope and know that if you were diagnosed or a family member is diagnosed with kidney disease, renal failure, end stage, or whatever stage it is, it's not a death sentence. It is God that decides how we live, when we die. And until that day comes, we have hope. And as much as it feels like such a bad thing to happen to somebody, it's a really great opportunity for all of us just to open up and to share with each other. So I appreciate everybody who has supported us and will support us after seeing this. It's not adequate, but it's appropriate, I think. Thank you. God bless you.